All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about something absolutely crucial for anyone trying to make a real impact in the world: monitoring and evaluation, or M&E as you'll often hear it called. We're going to explore how we move past just hoping we're helping people to actually knowing we are.
So picture this. A brand new, state-of-the-art rehabilitation center opens up. It's got all the best equipment, a team that's incredibly passionate. But here's the real question, isn't it? How do we know if it's truly working? I mean, without a real way to measure success, all that money, all that passion, it's really just a hopeful guess. How can we be sure that patients are actually getting their independence back? Well, that's exactly the question M&E is built to answer.
And to get to that answer, here's the roadmap for our journey today. We're going to start with that big question: is our program even working? Then we'll open up the M&E toolkit. We'll map out the path from our daily work all the way to long-term impact, clear up the super important difference between monitoring and evaluation, and wrap up with the 6 essential questions that really define what success looks like. Okay, so let's dive into that fundamental question. To figure out if a program is actually delivering on its promise, you need a system, right? You need a solid approach. And that's exactly where the M&E toolkit comes in.
First up in the toolkit is monitoring. Now, the best way to think about this is like you're on a long road trip. Monitoring is like constantly checking your dashboard and your GPS. Are we on the right road? Do we have enough gas? Are we going to get there on time? It's that continuous day-in, day-out process of collecting data to make sure your program is running just the way you planned it.
And then you've got evaluation. Sticking with our road trip idea, if monitoring is checking the dashboard during the trip, evaluation is what happens when you finally get to your destination. You take a step back, look at the whole journey, and ask the really big questions. Was this even the right place to go? Was it worth all the time and gas money? And what did we learn for our next big trip? See, it's a much deeper, periodic look at the program's overall value and what it really achieved. Now, let's really sharpen the focus here, because understanding this difference between checking your course while you're driving and judging the destination once you've arrived is absolutely key in M&E. So here's how it breaks down. Monitoring is continuous. It's always on. Evaluation, on the other hand, is periodic. It happens at specific moments, like halfway through or at the very end. Monitoring asks the question, are we doing things right? Are therapy sessions on time? Are we sticking to the budget? But evaluation asks a much bigger question. Are we doing the right things? Are these therapy sessions actually the best way to help our patients? One is about doing things efficiently. The other is about being strategically effective. Huge difference. So how do we connect all those little day-to-day tasks with those massive life-changing goals? Well, for that, we use a fantastic tool called the results chain. Think of it like a logical map that shows exactly how every single resource we put in is supposed to lead to real, long-term change. Let's walk through this using our rehab center. It all starts with your inputs. That's your staff, your equipment, your funding. Those inputs allow you to do activities, like running physical therapy sessions. The direct result to those activities are your outputs, for example, the number of patients who finish the program. But we're not done yet. We do all that to achieve outcomes. Those are the shorter-term changes, like seeing patients' mobility scores go up. And all of that, hopefully, leads to the ultimate goal: impact. That's the big, long-term societal change, like more people living independently in their community. And here is where it all clicks together so beautifully. Monitoring keeps its eye on that first part of the journey, making sure our inputs and activities are creating the outputs we planned. But evaluation? It steps back to look at the destination. Did our work actually lead to the outcomes and the lasting impact we were hoping for? Now, that question of creating lasting impact, that is the real test. And to answer it properly, we need a consistent framework. We can't just wing it. So when we actually do an evaluation, how do we make sure we're even asking the right questions? Well, we use a globally recognized set of standards to guide us. This gold standard comes from a group called the OECD's Development Assistance Committee, or OECD DAC for short. It's basically a set of principles used all over the world to make sure evaluations are solid, credible, and really dig into a program's true value. And this framework is built around 6 powerful questions. First, relevance. Are we actually solving the right problem for our patients? Then, effectiveness. Did we achieve what we set out to do? Efficiency asks, hey, did we use our time and money wisely? Impact looks for those bigger, long-term changes, the good and maybe even the unintended ones. Sustainability is huge. Will the good things we did actually last? And finally, coherence. Does our program play nicely with other services out there? Asking these 6 questions gives you that full 360-degree view of your program's real worth. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? Look, M&E isn't just about spreadsheets and reports. It's an ethical duty. It's the system that moves us away from just hoping we're making a difference to having the solid evidence to know that we are. And, maybe even more importantly, it gives us the roadmap to do it even better tomorrow.
Because in the end, a strong M&A system isn't really about managing projects. It's about honoring the promise we make to the people we aim to serve. It's what makes sure that every bit of funding, every hour of work, and every single program actually strengthens the quality of care for every single patient. And really, what could possibly be more important than that?